You turn 30 on a random Tuesday. No dramatic moment, no cinematic music, no sudden realization that the clock is ticking. Just your phone vibrating at 8:12 in the morning with a notification that says, "Happy birthday." Your mom sends a message in the family group chat with a cake emoji. Your friend sends a meme about getting old. Instagram reminds you that 10 years ago, you were at a college party wearing a shirt you definitely thought looked good at the time. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you make coffee, you open your laptop. It feels like a completely normal day because as far as you're concerned, life is going fine. You have a job. It's not your dream job, but it pays the bills. Your salary comes in on the last working day of the month. Your rent goes out on the first. Somewhere in between, the rest of the money disappears into groceries, subscriptions, random late-night food deliveries, and the occasional "I deserve this" purchase that felt like a good idea at 1 a.m. You've always assumed the financial stuff would sort itself out eventually. Investing? That's something people do once they start making real money. Retirement? That's something people worry about when they're older. 30 isn't old. 30 is just late 20s with slightly worse knees. So you close the birthday notifications, open your email, and start your day like nothing has changed. But later that evening, something small happens. Small enough that it almost doesn't register. You're scrolling through social media while lying on your couch, half watching a show in the background. A friend from college posts a screenshot. It's a brokerage account. The caption says, "Finally crossed $100,000 invested before 30. There are fire emojis. Congratulations. Comments from people saying things like, "Let's go." Compound interest is magic. You stare at the screenshot for a moment. Then you keep scrolling because that's the easiest thing to do. The next morning you wake up and go to work. Your train is crowded. Someone's backpack is pressed against your shoulder. The same announcements echo through the station speakers. Everything feels normal again. Until lunchtime. You're sitting at your desk eating something that came out of a plastic container when a coworker mentions something casually. He says he just increased his retirement contribution. Someone else in the office says they've been investing since they were 23. Another person mentions their index funds. The conversation moves on quickly. Back to deadlines. Back to meetings. Back to whatever project everyone was working on. But something about that conversation sticks in your head. Not like panic. More like curiosity. That evening you do something you've never done before. You open a calculator. You type, "How much do I need to retire?" The internet gives you a number, a big one, something around $1 million to $2 million, depending on who you ask. That seems ridiculous. Nobody actually has that kind of money. So you click another article. It explains something called the 4% rule. If you want to live on $40,000 a year in retirement, you need around $1 million invested. If you want $80,000 a year, you need $2 million. You sit there staring at the screen. Your bank account has about $3,200 in it. None of it is invested. Technically, you have money. It's just not doing anything. It's sitting in a savings account earning interest that barely qualifies as a rounding error. So you open another tab. How much should I have saved by 30? The numbers vary depending on the article. Some say 1 year of salary, some say 2. You mentally calculate, then you close the tab, because suddenly the room feels a little quieter than it did 5 minutes ago. Not dramatic, just quieter. Over the next few weeks, something strange starts happening. You begin noticing money conversations everywhere, at work, on podcasts, on YouTube, on social media. People talking about investing early, people talking about compound interest, people talking about financial freedom. It feels like everyone received some secret instruction manual for adulthood that you somehow missed. You remember your 20s. They didn't feel irresponsible at the time. They felt normal. You paid rent. You went out with friends. You traveled a little when you could. You bought things that made life slightly more enjoyable. You weren't reckless. You just never thought 10 years ahead, because 10 years ahead always sounded like a different lifetime. But now 10 years ago was yesterday. So one night you run another calculation. You open a compound interest calculator. You type in a scenario. If you invest $500 a month starting at 30, average return 7%, retire at 65. The number that appears on the screen is larger than you expected, not millions and millions, but enough, enough to matter, enough to make retirement look possible. Then you change the age. You set the starting age to 20 instead of 30. The final number almost doubles. You stare at the screen because that's the moment the math becomes real. 10 years. That's all the difference was. 10 years of time. Time you didn't think about. Time you assumed would always be available later. For a few days, you feel something close to regret. You replay small financial decisions from your 20s. The gadgets, the trips, the random spending. You imagine what would have happened if you invested instead. But eventually something else happens. You run another calculation. You change the starting age again. This time you type 40. The final number drops dramatically, not slightly, dramatically. That's when a different realization starts forming. You didn't start at 20, but you also didn't wait until 40. You're standing in a strange place financially, not early, but not late either. 30 isn't the beginning of the race, but it's definitely not the end. It's more like the moment when you finally realize there is a race, and that realization changes the way you see small things. You start noticing how much money quietly leaks out of your life each month. The subscriptions you forgot about, the impulse purchases, the random spending that felt harmless individually but adds up over time. None of it feels dramatic, just inefficient. So you make a small decision, not a huge life overhaul, not a dramatic financial transformation, just one small change. You open an investing account. You transfer $200. That's it. $200. It doesn't feel impressive. It doesn't feel life-changing, but something about it feels different because for the first time, money is moving toward your future instead of away from it. The next month you invest again. Then again, the numbers start small, slow, almost boring, which is exactly how investing is supposed to feel. There's no excitement, no adrenaline, just steady movement. Month after month, year after year, you begin to understand something people in their 20s rarely realize. The most powerful financial force in the world isn't income. It isn't luck. It isn't even talent. It's time. Time quietly multiplying small decisions. Time turning ordinary savings into something much larger. And for the first time since that birthday morning, the idea of retirement doesn't feel like some distant, impossible concept. It feels like a long process that has finally started. Years later, you might look back at 30 and laugh a little, because 30 felt late. But 30 was actually the moment things finally made sense. The moment you stopped assuming the future would magically take care of itself. The moment you started building something deliberately, not perfectly, not aggressively, just consistently. And that's the strange thing about money. The biggest financial mistake people make isn't being broke in their 20s. It's believing they have infinite time to figure things out. You didn't start at 20, but you also didn't wait until 40. And somewhere in that realization is a quiet kind of relief. Because the truth is simpler than most people think. You're not behind. You're just finally paying attention. And sometimes that's the exact moment the future starts changing. If this story felt a little too familiar, you're not the only one. A lot of people reach 30 before they realize how powerful time really is. The good news? Time hasn't run out. It's just finally started counting. If this one made you think differently about money, drop a comment and tell me the moment you first realized investing actually mattered. And if you want more stories like this one, hit subscribe. Because sometimes the most important financial decisions start with a very simple realization. You're not early anymore, but you're definitely not too late.